Hi, I'm professional house planner Jack Thomason. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install Shaw's solid hardwood flooring. To install solid hardwood, you must either nail it or staple it to a wood subfloor. Before you begin, make sure you've read all of the manufacturer's instructions carefully. Some of the most important things you can do to ensure a successful flooring installation take place even before you install the first plank. When your hardwood flooring is delivered to your home, you should place the cartons in the room where the flooring will be installed to allow the hardwood to adjust to the temperature and humidity level of the space. The reason we do this is because your hardwood floor will expand and contract. That's natural. But if it doesn't acclimate to the room prior to the installation, the expansion and contraction could be so severe that it could buckle the entire floor. The flooring should be stacked no more than 3 cartons high. It's best to remove any plastic overwrap or pull down the end flaps so the air can circulate around the planks. It's important to note that solid hardwood is milled from a single 3/4 inch piece of hardwood. Because of the expansion and contraction relative to your home's humidity, solid hardwood cannot be installed below grade, which means the floor is below ground level. A basement is an example of a below grade room. Moisture is often a problem in a basement, so solid hardwood can't be installed there. Moisture can cause cupping and other related problems which are not covered under the manufacturer's warranty. That being said, it's critical to test your subfloor for moisture before beginning your hardwood installation. Always test wood subfloors and wood flooring for moisture content using a pen-type moisture meter. Take readings of the subfloor a minimum of 20 times per 1,000 square feet and average the results. In most regions, a dry subfloor that is ready for installation has a moisture content of 12% or less. For solid strip flooring, less than 3 inches wide, there should be no more than a 4% difference between the wood and the subfloor. For plank flooring 3 inches or wider, there should be no more than a 2% difference between acclimated wood and subfloor. Proper ventilation is key in moisture control. Your floor's crawl space clearance from ground to underside of joist should be no less than 18 inches for a solid hardwood installation. Perimeter vent spacing should be equal to at least 1.5% of the total square footage of the crawl space area to provide proper cross ventilation. Your heat and air system needs to be on and maintaining a temperature between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit with a relative humidity of 35 to 55% for a minimum of 7 days prior to delivery of your flooring materials. These temperatures and humidity levels need to be maintained during and after installation of the flooring. Then you'll want to make sure your subfloor is clean, dry, and flat within 3/16 of an inch for any 10-foot section. It's vital to the lasting stability of your hardwood floor. If necessary, use layers of 15-pound felt or wooden shims to fill low spots. Once you're sure that your subfloor is within moisture tolerance and your hardwood flooring has acclimated, you're ready to begin gathering your materials for the installation process. The tools you will need are a tape measure, chalk line and chalk, hammer, moisture meter, handsaw, electric miter saw or table saw, manual or pneumatic nailer, pry bar, safety glasses, color wood filler, dust mask, air compressor with inline regulator, utility knife, and nail set. You will also need 15-pound asphalt felt paper, also known as roofing felt, as an underlayment. Transition pieces, also called moldings, add a finished look to a wood floor. Be sure to open multiple boxes of the product and mix them up to ensure an even appearance across the floor. For best appearance, match all transition pieces or moldings to planks that have similar color or grading. Before you start installing the hardwood, you need to undercut the door casings. To measure the correct height of the cut, use one of the hardwood planks with the asphalt felt paper under it. Before you cover the subfloor with the felt paper, sweep the subfloor and make sure it is clean and ready. Then roll out the asphalt felt paper to cover the entire subfloor. Overlap the joints 6 inches and staple if needed to secure it in place. This felt paper helps prevent moisture entering your hardwood floors from below. Solid hardwood needs to be installed so that the planks and the floor joists are perpendicular. This will provide the necessary strength needed to support the floor. So you'll first determine the direction of your floor joists. If you determine that the floor joists require you to install the flooring in a direction that you don't like, you can add a minimum of 1/2-inch plywood underlayment to your subfloor to provide the needed support. Once you know the direction, you'll decide your starting wall. Most people start with an exterior wall because those walls are often straighter than the interior walls. You're going to need to maintain an expansion gap around the entire perimeter of the room. The rule of thumb is that the expansion gap should be equal to the thickness of the solid hardwood. Now, what I'm about to tell you may be the most confusing part of an installation. We're going to determine the size of our first and last rows. Why? Because the room will look more beautiful if the first and last rows are equal size. The sign of a new installer is a first row that's 6 inches wide and a last row that's 3. Before you start your first row, measure the room. Then divide by the width of the hardwood planks you're installing. How many planks will it hold? Half of what remains will be the size of the first row, and the other half will be the size of the last. Keep in mind, though, that no row should ever be less than 2 inches in width. Now, to set up a framework for placement of your first rows, measure out the distance of one plank width plus 1 inch from the wall and 12 inches from the corners in at least 2 places. Snap a working line parallel to the starting wall. Now it's time to begin laying out the flooring exactly as it will be installed, also called racking the floor. You'll pull random length planks from the carton. Be sure to open multiple boxes of the planks and mix them up to ensure an even appearance across the floor. You'll want to consider a balance of color variation and graining characteristics as you're racking the room. Make sure you stagger the inseams by at least 6 inches for a more beautiful, natural appearance. It also provides additional stability. As you work, it's important to step back and survey the layout in good lighting to make sure you're pleased with the arrangement, considering the color and character of the planks. Remember, you want to make sure you like the layout before you start nailing. Start the first row by choosing the longest boards and align the plank's tongues with the chalk line. Then cut the last plank to the proper length, leaving 3/4 inches from the end wall as an expansion gap. Pre-drill holes spaced 6 inches apart and about 1 inch from the back edge through the face of the board, and top nail the board into place using 7-penny or 8-penny finishing nails. Use a nail set to avoid damaging the flooring. Continue to blind nail each succeeding row. When enough of the planks have been installed, begin using either a manual or a pneumatic nailer or stapler. Check to ensure the fastener is set to the proper depth. If your planks are less than 3 inches wide, which is often called strip flooring, you'll need to blind nail through the tongue using the proper length staple or cleat, and fasten the planks approximately 1.5 to 3 inches from the ends and every 8 to 10 inches apart. If your planks are 3 inches or wider, fasten every 6 to 8 inches apart using a minimum of 2 fasteners per plank. Continue installing planks across the room, ending at the far wall using the manual or pneumatic nailer or stapler, and following the recommended nailing pattern. As you reach the far wall, it may be necessary to blind nail by hand until top nailing is required. You'll remember from the planning stage that the width of the last row should match the first row. When you make the width cuts to the planks for the last row, you need to allow for the 3/4 inch expansion space. If the last row is very narrow, glue the pieces to the last full unfinished row and install them together. If needed, use a pry bar or a lever to fit the remaining rows tight to the installed planks. Top nail the last 1 to 2 rows by pre-drilling the holes and then countersink the nails. And finish by filling the nail holes with a colored wood filler. Transition pieces, also known as trim pieces or moldings, are the key to a beautifully finished floor. Quarter round is perfect for covering the expansion gap around the perimeter of the room. In doorways, you need to install a T-molding, threshold, or reducer depending on the height of the adjoining floor. If you're installing on stairs, you'll need to use a stair nose. In all cases, be sure to nail the moldings to the wall, not to the floor. Finally, inspect your floor for nicks and minor gaps and fill them with an appropriate color wood putty. Be sure to sweep or vacuum without using the beater bar and clean the floor with a proper wood floor cleaner. You don't want to use oil-based products on your hardwood floor because it can cause a buildup on the hardwood that dulls the appearance. Store any unused materials in a dry place in case repairs are needed in the future. Now it's time to relax and enjoy your beautiful Shaw solid hardwood flooring.